How's it going, guys? I'm back here in my evil lair. As you can tell, I've had to change the scenery. It's a little bit more domestic now, but save a good bit of money on heating now that it's so much smaller, and it's money I can put towards other evil stuff. I want to take a little bit of time today to talk about my Mystery Ranch 3-day assault pack. So, I got this before they got so expensive. I got mine back in late 2019, right? And back then, I think, all in all, with the shipping, it ran me like $300. I bought it new. Now they're like $425. To my knowledge, it's because they won some kind of government contract. Not sure what. Haven't really looked into it. Doesn't really matter to me or what I do. But they're expensive now. I'm sure you've seen them around. Like, people have them on social media and stuff like that. They're cool looking bags. They draw a lot of attention, and maybe you're thinking about buying one. And hopefully I can help you decide on whether or not that's a good idea for you. I would say first thing, so you don't have to watch any further if it's what you're thinking about. Like, don't think about this like an assault pack. I know it says assault pack in the name, but it's not something like what like a Haley strategic flat pack is trying to replace. Something that's really small and is not going to be bigger than your plate carrier or something like that. Think of it more like a medium Molly ruck, if you've ever seen any of those, like what the Army issues. It's considerably smaller than a full-sized ruck, but it can still hold a good bit of stuff, and it keeps it more in line with the width of your chest, instead of pushing out or making you have a larger silhouette like the large Molly rucks do. But with that out of the way, I thought the best way to start off would be to go over what I normally keep in it. So this list that I'm about to read off, this is not a list that I always took with me whenever I took this to field problems, or when I took it to NTC. It's something that I keep in it when I'm using it in personal context to for just training purposes, something like that, or if I'm gonna go overnight with it, or if I'm gonna run around and do some shooting with it or stuff like that. I want it to be loaded up so I can get used to moving, shooting with the load on me, how it feels when it's shouldered, when it's actually weighing me down. So that's what this is. It's not like what I suggest you carry in it by any means, or what I think a reasonable patrol or recce loadout or any of that is. So bear that in mind. All right, first things first, I keep a sleep system in there. It's what I call my three-season sleep system. It is literally just two whoobies and in a stuff sack and a poncho that I got right here, bungee corded to the bottom. It'll get you through most stuff. It'll probably suck some nights, but hey, it's better than nothing. It's everything you need, maybe less than everything you need, but you gotta make room for other stuff. One change of clothes, so that's shirt, pants, and socks. A jacket. It's actually kind of like a pullover hoodie. It's made by 0241 Tactical. It's one of their operator pullovers or something like that. It's just a multicam, another layer to put on. Pretty light, won't really heat you up that bad, but okay at bunking the wind. 3 days of food. That's not like power bars or something like that. That's actual food. It's something to cook in the morning, something to cook in the evening, and a couple of Cliff bars during the day. You can run on a whole lot less than that. Like I said, sometimes I go overnight with this bag, and if I'm not having to suck, I don't want to suck. Training yourself like that is good sometimes, but like I said, I was in the Army. They did that shit to me. Cooking supplies. It's just a little MSR burner and some fuel for it. Red lens headlamp. I got a whole bunch of batteries for my pack and my flashlight, my scope, all that kind of stuff. A VS-17 signal panel. I should probably cut it in half. I got like a full size signal panel right now. Those are super useful if you guys have ever used them. A camo veil. It's just like a like a shitty little like camo neck kind of thing. Could be useful for any number of things. For the most part, I just kind of like use it as a towel sometimes. My poncho that I mentioned earlier, baby wipes. Gotta stay clean out there. Gotta have something to wipe your ass with. Hygiene kit, pretty standard hygiene kit, like a little bit of foot powder, um, something to shave with, and something to brush your teeth. Don't want to be gross out there. Extra markers and pens for like maps and stuff like that. 3 to 7 liters of water. So normally what I do is I keep a 3 liter Camelback in there. If I'm going to be out longer, I will take another 3 liter Camelback and I'll put it on top of that. I have like a Camelback that has that quick detach on it, so you can just take the hose out of one and put it in the other, and then I'll put like a hard water bottle source in there. I know some people don't like Camelbacks. I've had a couple problems with them, but mostly with like really cheap shit. So I think that if you buy good quality stuff, it's not too bad. That being said, like I wasn't jumping out of helicopters and shit with my stuff, so your mileage may vary. A bunch of assorted chem lights, like IR chem lights, red, blue, yellow, white, useful for signaling and stuff like that, or marking areas or rooms or something like that. 100 foot of 550 cord, probably overkill, but you never know, man. And then an extra combat loadout that I keep in the Claymore pocket on the top of this bad boy. Like I said, I just keep this in here for like training and weight and stuff like that. But having an extra combat loadout is good. This is that Claymore pocket. It's pretty good sized. With that said, I found that metal mags, when they're up here in the Claymore pocket, because there's not really a way to secure them down, you just kind of have to stack them in there tight. Metal mags tend to clank around. I don't really have that problem with polymer mags like Lancer mags or P mags. P mags, in my experience, were the quietest up there. I didn't really hear them like walking normally, walking quickly, like a 15-minute mile pace, but running, if they're not put in there right, they can start to, jiggle around, and you might lose a round here or two with metal mags. That was just my experience. Maybe I just run wonky, and that's not something you need to worry about. All right, so let's go over first things first with the cons, because I would like to end on the positive stuff. So we're gonna get the bad stuff out of the way first. All right, so the big one out of the way first: price. Now this thing's expensive, $425. I don't know how much extra would be from shipping if you bought yours directly from Mystery Ranch like I did, but man, that is a steep ask, for something if you're just like a regular Joe, and or if you're just a Joe in the Army. It's quite a bit of money, and like, is it worth it? That's something you got to answer for yourself. Like, how seriously, if you're in the Army or the Marines or something like that, do you take your craft? How devoted are you to it? And if you're a civilian, it's like, well, do you find yourself, not really being served properly by the gear that you already have? So, something like that, that's always going to be up to the individual, but obviously I have mine, I use it a lot. I think that it's worth it at the dollar amount that I bought it, at $300. At $425, possibly more with shipping, maybe, $440 or $450. I don't really know about that. Availability, I've heard. Now, this wasn't a problem for me because, like I said, I got it before the contract, but I've heard people say that they're hard to find and that you can't buy them from Mystery Ranch anymore. I can't confirm, that's all just hearsay, but hey man, better just throw it in there. And then lastly, at least for the things that I think are negatives for it, scalability and compatibility. So Mystery Ranch, with some of their other products, they have the ability to be able to add on more load-bearing gear to it. Things that just like zip on or clip on to it. The 3-day assault, from what I saw looking on their website, really doesn't have that kind of compatibility. It has Molly on it, but other than that, like, that's what you get, man. Oh, and I should add that these two pockets on the side, these are issued 200 round saw pouches that I'm using kind of like sustainment pouches normally. Like, when you buy this, it will not come with these. If you're wondering why mine looks a little bit different, that's it. Alright, and the stuff that could go either way. You might like it or you might not. So adjustability. So the yoke on this thing, right back here, you can see there is this part right here, and there's actually a frame in here. This is kind of sort of internal framed, right? And you have the ability, when you get this thing, to adjust the ride height of the yoke to fit it to your back. They give you instructions with it. It suggests that you have a buddy. I was in the barracks at the time, so it was super easy for me to just like go to my roommate, and he helped me adjust it. And I think it took maybe like 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. And we were a couple of idiots, which is why we were in the Army, and we were able to figure it out. But maybe you don't like that. Maybe you're worried about the stability of it all. I never had an issue with it. I set it and it remained completely the same. So maybe that could be an issue for you, maybe not. But I personally like it. The colors, from what I understand, they only have this in Coyote Brown and Multicam. I bought Multicam, obviously, because I was in the Army. I wanted to use it when I was a regular Joe, and I was able to use it. And that could be an issue for you. Maybe Coyote Brown and Multicam you feel like don't blend in well with your environment, or they're just not pleasing to your eye. It's your money, man. It's a lot of money for a backpack. That's something you should take into consideration whether you like it or not. Personally, I don't mind it because, it really didn't matter to me when I bought it. And the padding and the straps. So the padding on the back is pretty minimalist. There's not really any padding right here. The lower back, there's a little bit more padding right there. And on the straps, there's pretty minimal padding, and they're decent sized, I think, but it's not like they're overly large. And everything's compromised. They wanted you to be able to shoulder a weapon when you had this. They wanted you to be able to maneuver and do things. And I can tell you from experience that my experience is it's easy to do things with the bags on as compared to a medium molly or a full-sized molly ruck. But the trade-off is it's not a gigantic, super comfortable, super padded strap like maybe you would have on a more serious like rig meant for like just hiking, like maybe like a high-end Osprey or some bag like that. So your mileage may vary on that. That might be a huge deal breaker for you, especially if you got like bad shoulders or something like that. So the pros. It's very compliant. So it's made in the USA. It's made in Bozeman, Montana. I've been through Bozeman before. It's kind of like a yuppie town, but the mountains are nice there, so that's cool. It's made in America, dude. American-made materials. It's non-IR reflective, and that's the big thing. I think that Berry compliant is worth the money if you intend on doing any serious work with your stuff. Whether you're a concerned civilian or you're a dude who's trying to get something a little bit better than what you're issued, right? I think that you cannot afford to skip on Berry compliant at all if you're serious. Leading into the next thing, because it's Berry compliant, it is durable, man. I have absolutely abused this thing over the last couple years. Back when I still had my Instagram, you would see me all the time with this thing, climbing mountains, and sometimes when you climb rocky mountains in like shitty shoes like I like to do, sometimes you slide down them, dude. And I have fallen like directly on my back with this bag on, and all kinds of stupid abuse like that. I've had to lower it down from stuff that I've got myself into with like the 550, wrap it around this handle here, whole weight of the bag with all that stuff I talked about earlier loaded down in it, maybe more, and just lowering it down, and the drag handle on it still totally good. Like it didn't separate from like the load lifters or anything like that. It's solid, man. Shape. So when you have it and it's loaded up, it's about the size of your back, and it's like that, so you can get through fucking doorways with it. Sometimes you see like some of the lower end like tactical bags, like 511 and stuff like that. They're not always like optimally shaped to be able to do shit with them, right? They're more like backpacks you would take to school, at least in shape. And I'm not talking trash against anything like that. I'm sure they make better shit than I could whip up, but it's something to take into account. And one of the things that you get when you buy a bag like this is they thought through this very seriously. They probably have like high-end users who give them feedback on the design and the shape of stuff like that, and that's something you gotta take into account, man. Like it does matter in my experience, especially when you start carrying it for extended periods of time. The size, feeds right off from shape. I was reading off earlier. I can fit a good amount of shit in there, and it's not like that's not all that you could fit in there. You can fit more. Would I? I mean, if I needed to, but I don't know if I'd particularly enjoy it. I really start slugging it personally after you get like 65 to 70 pounds on me. That's when it really shows that like the weight's taking a toll on you. Usually after like mile 6 or 7 with it, and then feeding off from both of those things, the size and the shape, is the stability of it all. Running with this pack on is super easy, man, especially when it's adjusted properly. These blocks here on the side, especially when you're wearing a plate carrier, they just kind of sit on your back and they lock it in pretty good, especially when it's fully loaded. It just kind of, doesn't move at all while you're running, which is super, super helpful if you ever need to run in your bag. Do you want to? Probably not, but, it may be entirely necessary. So, my final thoughts on it are, I really like my Mystery Wrench. At the price that I bought it, I think that it was worth it. It is literally the best bag I've ever owned, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else in like this category. Is it the best bag for you? Like I said, it may or may not be, depending on how serious you are about what you're doing or what you intend on doing. That's really up to you, man. My opinion is, though, that if you want it and you think you have the need for it, go for it. Maybe don't go for it at $425. Maybe try and find a used one. If anybody's selling one, I don't know anybody who wouldn't like this bag. But if you can find it a little bit cheaper than that, definitely go for it. I think it's a great bag, and I really love mine, and I'm going to continue to use mine for years to come. Mystery Ranch has a lifetime warranty. I think within like reason, like I don't think that you can just throw your bag off a mountain and be like, hey, Mystery Ranch, fix it for me. But from what I understand, they're good people who stand behind their products, and like, dude, it is an American-made product made by a small American business, even if they got, government contract now. Like, it's still just like a bunch of dudes with sewing machines in Bozeman, Montana. So I like it, man. I love mine. Not going to trade it for the world. If you were thinking about getting one, I'd say get one, man. But with all that said, I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you watching this, and have a good one, man.